everybody, I'm MAK.
And I'm Courtney. Welcome back to 2MC.
It's our weekly podcast, and we're back again this week with a very special guest.
Yes, John Maehl. He is the Environmental Resources Division Administrator.
Whew, that's a big title.
It's a long title.
He and his department are doing some fantastic stuff
They
for
are
Martin County environment.
kind of a big deal.
A big deal.
Some would say. So we are excited to bring him on.
Yeah, we want to talk about some new things that have just happened with the legislature, and then just some projects that they have going on.
Yeah, innovative projects that they have coming up.
Yeah.
So
That's it.
yeah. Just like that, he's here.
Magic.
John Maehl, everyone. So, John.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to 2MC.
Yeah, this is cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on with us.
Yes.
We love to talk about our stuff.
Yeah.
I know.
So
We really want you to share some of the things that you and your team are doing with the community.
Sure. So first of all, it's an incredible privilege to work with the team that I have and the leadership that we have at the county. Our citizens, the board, our administration, they all give us a ton of support to go do some really cool stuff. And we've been entrusted with a lot of responsibility in our division to take on some really audacious objectives.
Well, I think our community is so environmentally conscious and
Well,
forward
yeah.
thinking, right?
and that showed when they got the sales tax.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like that passed, right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean for your division? Like what are you guys doing with that?
It means we have a huge responsibility. The taxpayers have trusted us with an estimated $225 million tax dollars to go do some good work with conserving lands in primarily western Martin County, but also some access to waterways. And so our group is putting together, in partnership with several other departments in the county. It'll be a team effort. Lots of people will be involved. It's too big for any one division, but we'll be shepherding the process of bringing about the Environmental Lands Oversight Committee, which the board had finalized appointments for
Right.
Last month. And we'll be bringing forward nominations for properties to be considered. It's a willing seller program. And so we'll be kind of working with stakeholders and other land conservation groups around the county and the state to help identify those properties and work with the landowners to figure out what's the best method for securing those properties for the future.
And so the Environmental Lands Oversight Committee, we like to call it ELOC,
We do.
right? So that way we can kind of, I don't know, it's a long
Just give it an
long
acronym.
name. So
We call it ELOC too.
yeah.
Okay,
So
good.
and the ELOC is 9 members, right?
It's 9 members. It's made up of citizens that were appointed by organizations that the board selected that would represent different parts of the community, from agriculture to business. There's a member that's from the Tax Watch. There's 4 environmental groups that are represented on that committee. And together that group, it isn't a group of land conservation experts. It's a group of concerned citizens
I love that.
that
Yeah.
represent
Very representative of our
Yeah.
community.
Yeah, one of the things we were very concerned with, and the board took very seriously, was the public trust element of this effort. And they were insistent on establishing a citizens oversight committee that would convey that trust, and that would provide a lot of open communication and dialogue with the citizens to make sure everyone felt like they were a part of it. One of the groups that was identified that we're excited about was 4-H. So 4-H will bring that youth element in it. And if there's
Love that.
any group that this effort is for, it's for the youth and
future,
the next
right?
generation.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
What else?
other
Okay,
than
that's-
land acquisition,
Right.
like,
I know you guys work on a lot of water quality.
so
Yeah.
like seagrasses.
Yeah, seagrasses is kind of a new thing. We've always been engaged in water quality and habitat restoration, and a couple of years ago, we had some significant manatee mortality events that focused a lot of attention on the decline of seagrass meadows in the estuary, and that also precipitated a lot of funding. And so we're a group of people that love working on habitat restoration. We said, why not us? And so we put up our hands to be a part of doing some restoration efforts, and the funding just had to be asked for, more or less. I mean, there were some programs where we weren't as competitive, but there's just not that many of us doing it.
Right.
And we've got a group of overachievers in the division that love this stuff. And so we've been working through different aspects of seagrass restoration. We're working with some partners on just doing lots of planting and putting lots of grasses out there. We've never done more monitoring, and so we're seeing which ones are successful, and trying to understand why, and what works and what doesn't work. And then we had Mike Houston in our office, was at a conference where a UF professor was talking about the role that biology in the soil plays in
This is
seagrass
cool.
restoration.
I have to tell you, I've learned more about these teeny tiny clams.
Me too.
Which is just fascinating
Yeah.
to me. So I love that he went to a conference and brought us back.
So this professor was talking about the theory that these little clams may play in making the soil suitable for seagrass meadows. And she was lamenting that nobody was doing it, and no one had tried it, and there was just nothing, there was no progress. It was all theory. And so Mike said, well, we can do it. And we got some grant money, and we've identified a native lucinated clam that exists in our healthy meadows, and we've identified a method with a partner that does shellfish farming. They built a method to propagate those, to strip spawn them, and we're refining that method to grow out our own batch of these lucinated clams that we'll put out in association with our meadows.
That's
really
amazing
cool.
that by doing the restoration efforts, then you merged or went off into this clam business, and they're connected.
Yeah.
Environment.
And it's
All
a very
connected.
I feel like this is like a larger scale project that would happen Martin County
Somewhere
is
big.
small.
Yeah.
So for us to be doing a project that innovative is amazing.
We don't know how small we are. Don't try to tell us we are.
We're not small.
And I think the learning process is really the most exciting part. I mean, one of the criticisms maybe of getting out on seagrass restoration right now is that, well, hey, we haven't fixed all the water quality issues. Why would you even be trying to do this?
Sure.
What's the chances of success? And historically, seagrass restoration has struggled to hit high measures of success. Our approach to this is there's funding available. We see lots of really positive results on the landscape with the watershed, with SERP projects that are under construction or nearing completion all over the basin, the new LOSM schedule for managing the lake, and all the local stormwater management investment we've done, including septic to sewer. We feel like we are close enough to achieving some of those ultimate water quality goals that we need to be learning lessons that we need to know to be effective when that happens. I hate for us to be 5 years down the road, say, hey, you know what, we've done all this water quality work. We really have good habitat now. Now let's start learning what to do. We really like to be running by that point.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about LOSM, and we had some great news. Was it this week or late last week?
Yeah, late last
Can
week.
I just touch on that?
The Colonel Bowman, who's the district commander for the Jacksonville district for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, they're the water managers. They kind of pull the levers and open the gates and close the gates. And they came to town, met with some stakeholders, and made the announcement that they are stopping the lake recovery mode discharges. So without getting too far into the
what
weeds.
does that mean for the regular folks?
So when we worked with the Corps as a stakeholder in developing the Lake Okeechobee manual that would rewrite the way they manage water in South Florida, we had a really robust engagement. We got to a super positive outcome where we were in modeling reducing like 70 to 80% of the discharges to the estuary. And the Corps of Engineers, as they moved into the environmental impacts aspect of that process, came to the conclusion that they would have a hard time getting it across the finish line in its current form because of what it did to the lake. Lake Okeechobee was kind of the only loser among the stakeholders. And that's largely because the lake really was in its best possible plan, not by prescription, but by incidence. the schedule we have been using since 2008 had one purpose: to protect the dike from dike failure. The dike was considered compromised and not safe, and so they had to keep the lake lower. Happened to be very, very good for ecology. So any schedule that you change to from that would be something, some measure worse
Right.
than the existing schedule.
Okay.
But the Corps believed that the LOSUM, as it was originally as a tentatively selected plan, would do too much harm to the lake to get past the NEPA process. And so they added in this lake recovery mode, which helped it perform a little bit better for the lake and gave the Corps an opportunity to do something occasionally to help recover those submerged aquatic vegetation meadows that are super important to the lake and to the rest of the system. I mean, Lake Okeechobee, I think a lot of people forget it's an important feature for Martin County too. It's part of Martin County, and Martin County residents enjoy it. It's part of our navigable waterway. So we're definitely interested in the health of the lake. Lake recovery mode seems to be achieving its objective. We won't know for sure until early summer. If it does get to 11 feet, this is a key benchmark. If the drought from our dry season and releases to the south and west are able to get the lake to 11 feet, we really probably don't have any concern about lake recovery mode for 5 years.
Wow.
And in that time,
That's-
we'll finish the EAA reservoir. We'll finish a
Right.
couple of the reservoirs in the Western Basin. There'll be more storage. We've been in a whole different
We've
regime.
not been in a situation like that in, well, maybe ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
1928.
Okay, I wasn't around,
Yeah. me
contrary to popular belief.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. And I will say, like, as we were getting through lake recovery mode, which ran from December to last Saturday, we were keeping a close eye on those seagrass projects. And fortunately, they weren't terribly impacted. It's hard to benchmark seagrass restoration from February to August, right? It's a seasonal thing. And so
Okay.
we expect some decline in concentration in the dry season. This is the time of year where it really starts to rebound into the summer season. So we're thrilled that it's over and that we won't have that to contend with as those meadows recover for the next season. But they really were, relative to other dry seasons, the meadows looked pretty good this year.
Oh, that's good news.
This is good news.
Yeah, doing all the good work.
What else did we have? Did you have something else? Let me think.
So I know, well,
Oh,
I do think you were just at a
announcement.
An announcement.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Governor DeSantis came to Palm Bay last week on Tuesday and to make an announcement about the next round of water quality grants.
And you may have been in the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course we're there.
Of course, John was there.
We don't know how small we are.
Right.
So we always put forward a very robust grant package. Martin County's citizens and our board have always been very interested in putting our money where our mouth is and making investments in water quality, whether it be septic to sewer or stormwater projects, advocacy, anything's on the table.
Sure.
But we also want to leverage those dollars. We're a small county, and we can get a lot more done if we have a good partnership with our state and federal funding partners. So we always put forward a very aggressive ask, and we had a good announcement. On Tuesday, the governor released the awards for this year's cycle of grant funding. And one of the key requests we had this year was a large $12.5 million request for our Port Salerno and New Monrovia septic to sewer. It's a critical project. It's a high water table, a lot of septic interface, a lot of older systems. It's close to the pocket. It's dense development. It's the perfect scenario for having nutrient runoff from septic systems. And this $12.5 million will help bring down the cost to homeowners in that. Our objective, I think, as a county is to get those costs under 12 or maybe 10,000 per unit.
And we spoke with Sam, and he seemed very confident, utilities director,
Good.
we would be come in well under.
Yeah, that 12.5 million should go a long ways. I think it's 850 connections. It's a super important project. So thrilled to be in a place where we can move that forward. And then we were also awarded a $1 million grant for a stormwater/water quality project in Western Martin County, adjacent to Hawks Hammock. This is an exciting project because of the partnerships that it involves. We have an innovative contractor who came up with a really cool solution for us years ago to using our existing conveyance system, our drainage ditches, to do water quality treatment. Sometimes water quality treatment, the hardest part of it is buying land, right?
Okay, yeah.
And getting it's particularly when you're in an urban area with a lot of
Yeah.
interface, it's a challenge to get land for those things. And so this particular engineer came up with the concept of using our existing conveyance systems that's already county owned to
Right.
do water quality
It's
features.
already conveying water.
Yep.
Okay.
So they just build them into that conveyance system, and so we had identified about 50 miles of Martin County owned conveyance that could potentially house some water quality features. This will be the first of those projects, and what's great about this is the partnerships that we have make this a very low cost option for Martin County. We're going to ultimately, when this all comes to fruition, we'll do about a $3 million project for $200,000 of county
That's
dollars.
amazing.
You talk about really providing an amazing solution for
Yeah.
at a low budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're very good at leveraging those dollars.
that's the way we get things done, right?
Yep.
And then the dollars may not always be there, but as long as they are, we have to go after them.
That's great.
And we just finished. So septic to sewer is a really important part of our water quality effort in Martin County. But the other thing we do that makes the biggest difference is these stormwater retrofits. So we're going to the neighborhoods that were built before our current drainage standards. And our current drainage standards are amazing. They really were the best in the state until last year. The state caught up with their statewide stormwater rule, which is a wonderful thing, particularly since we get drainage that's not from our basin.
Sure.
And so we get drainage that's not regulated by us, right? And so now they have a higher standard for their development. But we have neighborhoods that were built before we had the standards we do today. So our division goes into those neighborhoods and tries to identify opportunities to retrofit them with those water quality standards. So we'll build what we call stormwater treatment areas.
STAs.
STAs,
I
good
know
with
that.
your acronyms.
Yes.
And they are different for every basin. So you look at the basin, you see how flashy the system is, how large the basin is, what the nutrient cocktail is in that basin. And we design a system downstream to collect, slow down that water, treat it before it gets to the river.
Yeah, you guys actually you're finishing up one, East Fork Creek. It's right off of US 1,
Yeah,
right?
it's easy to notice. It's a giant pond on US 1 in
Yep.
Hope Sound. And
Drive by it every day.
we just started another one just north of there, which we call East Fork Creek Phase 2. It's a little harder to see because it's got a narrow footprint next to US 1. Goes west 700 feet along the southern border of Mariner Sands. We've got another one we're going to start this fall in Manatee Pocket. And we will have put some treatment, if not multiple treatment trains along every tributary to Manatee Pocket. So that'll be a good benchmark.
Wow,
Yeah,
that
that's
is.
amazing.
And then you guys have numbers that you report to the state that you have to try to stay in compliance with, but I
Yeah.
feel like you're always there. Or
Without getting
better.
too much into the bureaucracy, every local government participates as a stakeholder in meeting our water quality goals for the state. The EPA set some standards 25 years ago. And the state's method of meeting that is to work with all the land users that are governments or agencies. And our allocation in our current, what's called the Basin Management Action Plan.
It's BMAP.
BMAP.
Yeah,
That's a BMAP.
we believe we've met 100% of those goals. It's in a review process. It's another. This could be too much, and you might have to cut it. But we're working on another thing on septic to sewer to try to create a model that substantiates the phosphorus reduction that septic to sewer does. It's largely it's the science is in that it's great for nitrogen, and we get credit on our BMAP for nitrogen removal with septic tank conversions. We've never gotten credit, and no community gets credit for phosphorus reduction. Phosphorus is thought to bind with the soil. We know its principles that it's not as water soluble. However, we also understand that after we think 8 years, that soil that the filter field for a septic system drains into will be saturated with phosphorus. And at that point, it can no longer hold new phosphorus.
Makes
so that
sense.
phosphorus all runs off. So we've been involved in about a 4.5, it'll probably end up being a 6-year modeling exercise to demonstrate empirically the phosphorus removal benefits of septic to sewer, and then get credit for that too.
I feel like we're with Bill Nye the Science
I
Guy.
know.
This is crazy.
So many different kinds of things that you don't even know
know.
is going on under your feet.
I work around smart people and I absorb some of it.
Well, I think it's cool that you drive around the community, right? You might see a little lake or some, wooded area, something, yeah. But you have no idea that it's actually working to improve our water quality. So I love that.
Yeah, sometimes it just looks like a park.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Nice.
awesome.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, my
I
pleasure.
feel like that was really good
I
information.
know.
Hopefully we retain some of it and we can sound as smart as he did.
I got it.
Yeah. So, all
If I
right.
can do it, you can do it.
Thank you for joining us
You
today.
bet. Yep. Take care.
Thanks.
That was so fascinating.
I could have sat there and listened to him just
Yeah.
talked forever.
Yeah. Honestly, his division does a lot of cool things, and there's so many things that honestly we weren't even able to talk about. They do mechanical shredding and fire mitigation, like so many different things.
To be fair, we have some very cool departments,
Well, yes.
right?
But I'm saying just in his division,
Yes.
environmental as a whole, I mean, they do the beaches, it's all within that division.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's very fitting for our community, I think.
Because I think environment is a big thing for you guys out there
I think
watching
so.
us.
We hear that. We hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have a cool thing. It's firemen and
Our public works department with Mosquito
Yes.
Control.
tire drive.
Tire drive. So, I don't have a yard, so I can't say that I have tires sitting around.
I have a yard, but no tires.
Okay, well, if you are a Martin County resident and you have some tires sitting around,
They are mosquito breeders.
yes,
No, they don't breed mosquitoes, but they are a hotbed of mosquito breeding activity.
yeah, okay.
Would you say that?
A hot site?
A hot site.
Hot something. I don't know where she was going with
Anyway,
that.
water gets in there.
Yeah.
They get in there.
Thousands of mosquito eggs in there.
That's creepy.
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
want to think about that.
So, if you don't want to be having tires in your backyard, you could roll them on over.
Oh boy. Roll them on over to the tire drive. So our first one is this Saturday.
Yes, April 5th at New Monrovia Park.
Mhm.
Our mosquito control staff will be there from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Yep.
Each household can donate 10 tires.
Car tires. No
Yes.
truck, no commercial.
Tractor.
Tractor.
Yes.
Yes. Anyway, we'll drop it in the show notes, but there are more throughout the whole community.
Through the month of April.
Yes.
Yes.
That's it.
And Music at the Mansion is this weekend. Bryce Allyn Band is playing.
I don't know them.
Me neither, so it sounds like we should go. It is Sunday, April 6th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Indian Riverside Park. It's you sit there, you're looking at the Indian River Lagoon, the sun's
No.
setting, you're listening to a band, you're eating some food.
Love it. Let's go.
Yeah, make sure you bring your chairs though.
Yes.
Yes.
Cheers.
We'll put it down in the show notes where you can get that information.
What else?
We have
Board meeting.
Board meeting next week. Yes, if you are interested in getting the agenda sent to you prior to it going on,
I know. I think that's so cool.
it can just go straight to your email
Yeah.
with those interwebs. So we will put it down in
it's
the
such
show
a new
notes.
thing. Woo! Sign up and have something emailed to you.
Wild. So we'll put it down in the show notes for you to sign up to do that. And also,
County Connection.
County Connection, our coworker,
Weekly newsletter.
Dana
Sets
it up.
Shout out to
She's
Dana.
amazing. And she puts all the information in there and she sends it out to the residents. So sign up if you're not signed up.
That goes
because-
into your email.
Yeah.
Every
Another
Friday.
interweb thing.
Yes. Very cool.
So we will put the information down in the show notes for you guys to sign up for that. All right, and that's all we got for you guys today.
Thanks.
So we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us on 2MC.
Bye.
Bye.